Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's virtual reading event. Today we have Monika Gauthier with us. So per usual, let me give a shout out to our co-sponsors, Alamance Chiefs, Future Alamance, Allied Churches of Alamance County, Elena and Jane Books, Burnage Chapel, the Kia Foundation, WNCC Western District Social Action Commission, and This Woman's Words. This week's literacy resource highlight is called Kits for Kids. You can also find it under Smart Start bags, and this is being done through the Alamance County Public Library System. So if you go to www.alamance-nc.com/library/kids-4-kits, you will find all the helpful information about these literacy packages that you can pick for kids. You can pick themes, you can pick the types of books that they're interested in. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe you have an extended checkout time since there are several books in those kits. So if you refer back to the publicity for today's event, or Adrian might be dropping it in Facebook comments, you will find that link so that you can go learn more about it and find those kits at your local library. So before I introduce Monika, I want to start off by saying that she is part of one of our co-founding or one of our co-sponsoring organizations. And I say that because I think it's important for us to put names and faces together. So each week when you hear me say the Kia Foundation, I present to you the Kia Foundation, Miss Monika Gauthier. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about Monika before we get into reading The Adventures of Swami Somewhere, A Trip to the Supermarket. Monika Gauthier is the founder executive director of the Kia Foundation, and Kia stands for Keep Empowering Yourself Abundantly. The foundation was established in 2012 after the death of Monika's cousin, Miss Kia Mitchell. Kia was 34 years old when she was murdered by her husband in a domestic violence relationship. As a way to honor her cousin and to make sure her voice is always heard, Monika created the 501c3 nonprofit, the Kia Foundation, in 2019, a teen dating violence prevention and awareness program. The Kia Foundation provides workshops to teens, parents, mentors, and does work to bring awareness to teen dating violence. For over 20 plus years, Monika has always been an advocate for violence against women and children. Monika began her career in 1997 after the death of her son, Darren, due to an abusive relationship she was involved in. Monika kept her abuse a secret from her family and friends until it was too late. 3 months after her son's death, Monika was in another altercation. Monika was arrested and charged with attempted murder for trying to defend attacks from her abuser. These were reduced to third-degree assault and 2 years. Monika dedicated her life to working with victims of domestic violence. She attended Springfield University in Springfield, Maine,
Massachusetts.
Her degree in human services. She became a child advocate for child victims of domestic violence and sexual assault and facilitated support groups for victims and their families. Monika continued her career as a prevention advocate and facilitated workshops across the state of Connecticut with topics from sexual assault prevention, dating violence prevention, and self-empowerment. Monika became president of the Women of Color Caucus Against Sexual Assault. She was an alumni of the Parent Leadership Training Institute, Connecticut chapter. Monika was committed to understanding domestic violence that she began working with offenders and facilitated the Connecticut Evolve program. Monika relocated to North Carolina in 2006 and continued her advocacy career. She worked at various domestic violence agencies and shelters and took a focus on housing and assisting the homeless. She developed a robust landlord engagement program to streamline the process of those seeking housing and working with landlords to provide quality, affordable housing. Monika continued her educational goals and attended Strayer University, pursuing a degree in criminal justice, and Liberty University, majoring in Christian counseling. The mission of the Kia Foundation is to significantly reduce the rate of domestic violence, particularly in teens, through counseling, support, education, and advocacy. The Kia Foundation's vision is to end domestic violence by putting into action programs and activities focused on adolescent children so they grow into adults and have happy, healthy relationships. Monika is the host of the radio talk show, Hey Beautiful, that airs on the iHeartRadio, TuneIn app radio, and WDRB Media, the voice of the community. The Hey Beautiful radio show is able to inspire, empower, educate, and provide resources and bring awareness to help individuals turn tragedy into triumph, pain into purpose, and victims into survivors to become a better, healthier you. Monica helps men and women bring their true beauty from their core to their surface. She is an ambassador for the Mary Kay Foundation and strives as an independent beauty consultant. Monica is a military mom to 2 amazing sons who served this country in the Army National Guard and an amazing entrepreneurial daughter. All right, Monica.
Thank you.
Monica's not doing all of that. And
I
then
know.
her just reading all of it.
It's a lot.
So when Monica is not doing all of that, she is supporting her family. And I say that because Mr. Reggie Green, who is the author of today's book, is Monica's cousin. And since Reggie could not be here, congratulations on the baby, Reggie. Thank you for not coming this time. Since Reggie could not be here today, Monica so graciously offered to read, and I want to give a shout out to Reggie as well for sending additional copies of his book, which have been donated to local little free libraries in our county. Yay. Monika Gauthier, let's read.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is like such an awesome, and thank you, Soraya, for this platform for doing this. This is very dear to my heart. As you already said, Reggie is my cousin. When he wrote this book, the family was ecstatic, so we would love to share it with everybody. So here we go. The Adventures of Swami Somewhere, A Trip to the Supermarket, written by Reggie Green and illustrated by Michael Graham. This book is dedicated to my whole heart warming baby girl, Swami. I wrote this book in your honor in order to have an excuse to spend more time with you reading as you lay snuggled in my arms. Although I know you'll grow up and be a woman someday, I wanted to be able to hold on to something that preserved that little girl in you forever. I love you, and I hope this book always reminds you of just how much. Love, Daddy. Okay. Swami is a baby girl who travels all around the world, but her family never knows when she leaves or where she goes. Because Swami has no clue herself, her trips are by mistake. Her stroller carries her away and never seems to break. It could be a hill that causes wheels to roll her on her way, or maybe the streets a little too steep. It's just too hard to say. Swami doesn't say a word. She's too small to speak. She makes sounds and carries around a pacifier between her cheeks. She never seems to feel in danger. She crosses streets and smiles at strangers. She gets on trains and flies on planes, no matter the weather, sun or rain. She is moving, y'all. She is on her way waving. Today, Swami was in a supermarket shopping with her mommy. Who would have known that this would be such an adventurous day for Swami? It started with the elevator, a little room with numbers and lights. And after it moved and stopped and opened, Swami was down 2 flights. A whole new scene filled with colors like green and many aisles of food. And people and plastic and bottles and glasses, but Swami was in such a good mood. Mommy went away from Swami to collect some food for her basket. While she was away, Swami's day was about to become fantastic. Ooh, what is she about to do, y'all? And just for the record, I never read this, so I'm excited just as you guys are. A woman dropped a cantaloupe that she bent down to pick up. She didn't see the boy coming towards her, bothered by the hiccups. As his body jerked, he bumped the woman and she sent her stumbling about. She accidentally nudged a stroller and Swami was off on her route. She's off, y'all. "Watch where you're going," she screamed to the child, which startled all the commotion. Hence, nobody noticed that Swami was rolling. Her journey was set into motion. The first thing she saw was a yellow sign that read, "Slippery when wet." As she rolled by, the stroller moved faster and gained all the speed it could. She's getting away, you guys. She waved to the fish, blew kisses to the chicken, and raised her arms with both fists. She zipped past the chips, got a whiff of the butter. One kid saw her, but he had a stutter. As Swami raced on, she came to a corner and almost crashed to a bang. But just in time, she stuck out her hands and grabbed the pastrami that hanged. As she turned the wheels, slowed down, her journey seemed to be finished. Luckily, she had bumped a cart forward while a lady was looking at spinach. The stroller stopped, but not for long. It had taken the place of the cart. The woman, not looking, just started pushing. So Swami was back on depart. Meanwhile, Mommy wasn't thinking of Swami. She was too busy shopping. She was looking at that bottle of what she was drinking on that night. As Swami kept on, she came to a man who had passed out the meat he was chopping. "How can I help you?" he asked the woman. She responded, 2 pounds of pork, please." "Excuse me, ma'am, but you have a ham. She's lovely. What is her sort?" The woman was puzzled until she looked down and saw Swami laughing and giggling. Her eyes popped out and she started to shout, "There's a baby in here, not a piglet." The woman was shocked as she stood and still in panic, looking around the whole store. With no one in sight, she reached for the stroller, but Swami was there no more. The boy with the stutter had run from his mother and chased Swami down to the butcher. He darted right under the nose of the woman, took Swami, and started to push her. The boy, only 3, was too short to see, so he pushed without knowing the direction. Swami knocked over boxes and bumped into cans on her way through the cereal section. Oh my goodness, I can imagine what this looked like. Everything falling to the ground. The ride was so scary that she covered her eyes with her hands slightly open to peek. She couldn't help notice cartoons on shelves, and she wondered, well, why didn't they speak? As they came out the aisle, a woman yelled, "There you are! I've been looking all over." But she was the mother of the boy with the stutter, and she pulled him away from the stroller. What is Swami gonna do? Now she's just sitting there. Let's see. But, Ma, the boy tried to reason, but his words weren't fast as his thoughts. "No excuses, young man. Now give me your hand." Then she dragged him away as he fought. Swami slowly kept on, heading straight towards the people standing in line. Her stroller bumped into the heels of a woman who turned to see what was behind. I think she found her mom. I don't know. As she looked down at Swami, the woman just smiled and remembered that Swami was with her. Did I push Swami here? She couldn't recall. She just said to herself in a whisper, Swami had finally returned to her mommy. As they paid for the food and left, if only mommy knew what Swami had been through, it would probably scare her to death. Up and down the aisles, knocking boxes over and cereal, bumping into people. I think I would have probably had a heart attack if that happened to my baby. Swami couldn't believe all the fun she had in the supermarket that day. As she counted the days to the next chance she had to get out and be on her way. Oh, she wondered what my adventures would be. So the next time you're at the supermarket, checking prices to make sure that they're fair, just remember how priceless your child is to you from the stories of Swami somewhere. Swami had a great time. Swami travels the world. I want to be like Swami. I want to go to so many places. Swami is a baby girl who travels all over the world, but her family never knows when she leaves or where she goes. This story of Swami Somewhere is about a secret journey that Swami embarked while her mommy and or daddy are distracted so long enough for her ventures to go unnoticed. It poses the question, what if your baby was lost for a while and you didn't even notice? How would you feel once you find out? I know me, I would be screaming. These stories of Swami Somewhere gives you an idea about how exactly that secret adventure could have happened. Reggie Green, he's a graduate of Siena College with a bachelor's degree in philosophy. Although this is his first children's book, he is a comedian and a school teacher, so he has a dedicated history in writing. He also lived in Italy for more than 10 years, where he played professional football. So he is also bilingual. Reggie now resides in New York City with his beautiful wife and adorable baby girl, Swami. And they've added to that family too, because they have an adorable, another baby girl, Miss Logan. The concept for Swami Somewhere came about when Reggie began trying to calculate all for the mileage that his daughter Swami's stroller had covered during the family's trips throughout Swami's first year of life. He began to realize that Swami had been to so many different places, and he started to imagine if somehow the stroller had been solely responsible for Swami's journey. You know how they have the magic carpet ride and the magic school bus? So now we have Swami's stroller that's taken her to many, many places. This adventure is made for kids to enjoy time after time, while parents can use this adventure as a moral reminder. Reggie's goal is to create a series of Swami Somewhere. the adventure books to contribute to the education of children by improving their level of literacy and encouraging them to read throughout enjoyment. The Adventures of Swami Somewhere, a trip to the supermarket. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. Are there any questions about what Swami is doing and where she's at? And oh my goodness, what would you do if you lost your baby in the supermarket or anywhere to be at that? And she is out just riding. She was enjoying her ride.
So Monica, I don't know what was better, the illustrations or your voices, because you are cracking me up. I love it. We got some great comments, by the way. So my god sister Felicia says she misses the days when she was pushed in a stroller in the grocery store. And when you didn't have to pay for your stuff at the checkout. Amen. We also have Angie Solomon on, who is watching with her 3.5-month-old granddaughter. And she said her granddaughter is all eyes on the screen watching Monica read. So shout out to Angie. I also have to mention that Angie is doing phenomenal work with the Queens of Pearls over at Grant Middle School. So Angie, we see you, we appreciate you, and we support you. And I'm glad that your granddaughter is enjoying the reading series. So as it goes for questions, I always have to turn it over to Adrian first, because Adrian always has more questions than me. So go ahead, Adrian.
I have to echo Sharia's sentiment, like the way that you were reading, like it just gave me life. And it definitely reminded me, what's the name of that movie? Baby's Big Day Out. Do y'all remember that movie where the baby was just everywhere? And no?
And the mother couldn't find them, and
they were just traveling. Yes. Yeah, it definitely gave me those vibes. I was like, man, this should be like on TV. Like what's going on with Swami? And Swami definitely traveled a lot more than a lot of us did in the past year. So I'm loving Swami's life.
Exactly.
And the illustrations are gorgeous. So I'm really excited for things to come. But yeah, where all has Swami gone? I'd love to know that.
I know. So now, it said Reggie lived in Italy. They lived in Italy for 10 years. He played football over there. Reggie is originally from Connecticut. And they moved back to the States and live in New York City. And they live not too far from Central Park. So I can imagine what her adventures were while traveling through New York. I know their grandmother travels down to New York often to visit them. And they're always at some restaurant eating different foods, different places that they're going. Those are her princesses. So she has, I know, a lot of adventures under her belt right now. Swami, I think, is about maybe 13 now. So she's 13 years old now. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, family, if you're out there and you're listening, please put that in there. I'm not sure, but the last time I saw her was a couple of years ago before COVID. And she is just as beautiful, so tall. And she will sit there, and her little sister, Miss Logan, and they will just sit there and talk to you about everything. So I know their adventures have taken them to amazing places. They have a wonderful dad. Reggie is amazing. He is such a comedian. He is a comedian of our family. If you ever get a chance to Google his comedian, he has a comedian TV show, all that. He is hilarious, y'all. He is really hilarious. So really big shout out to Reggie and his family. Absolutely awesome. I can't wait to read more books and to see. Again, I remember when my kids were little, there were times that I kind of forgot, like, I'm grocery shopping with a kid. Let me run over here and pick this up, because I was in my zone of what I had to get on my list and forgot that there were kids there, because you're reading and you're trying to, multitask. So it happens, parents. I know it does. I'm not the only one. It has happened, because I had shared stories with family who forgot a whole child in a whole aisle and had to go back to the aisle to pick the child up. Especially when you're a new parent, sometimes it's very hard to remember that I have this whole bundle of joy that I gotta keep with me at all times because your mind gets so distracted. So I'm pretty sure a lot of our kids have had some adventures.
Look, it happens, and you could tell the mom she was preoccupied, like the way she was checking out that bottle. She maybe really needed it that day. We don't know what was going on in her life, but I know I've done it. I've not forgot Leah at the store, but I've definitely forgot to pick Leah up from the Boys and Girls Club. You're like,
exactly.
She at home. Let's go by the club first and find it.
I literally, like, my kids were a little bit older. Exactly. And I remember I was so tired. I was working 2 jobs and all I could think of is I want to get into bed. And I got home, got pulled in the driveway, looked in the back seat and was like, oh, dang, I forgot my kids. Like, I gotta go back and pick them up and then go home and go into bed. It has happened. I mean, I was definitely guilty of that. Luckily, they were at a family member's that day, so it wasn't that bad. I called and I was like, I'm so bad. I'm sorry. I'm on my way. But I forgot.
So Nye and Leah Boo, I just want y'all to know, I won't let them leave you. Okay. If you're ever not around, I will figure out where you are. Okay. So, all right.
Don't worry, Sharia. Leah's not gonna let me leave her, especially now that she got the cell phone. So she quickly checks me as though I have another mom, because apparently that's what they do when they turn into teenagers. They turn into another mama.
Oh my gosh, yes.
She's like, Mama, where you at? What you doing? I'm like, how old are you? My mama lives on. She don't live here, so
well, I definitely got to give a big shout out to my Nye, because she is definitely my mama. And that's how I definitely address her. Okay, mama. Thank you, mama. No problem, mama. Because she definitely takes care of me. I love her. She cooks dinner for me. She cleans for me. So those teenage years get better.
So I'm waiting for it because I just keep getting checked. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Leah makes me go to bed because sometimes I fall asleep on the couch.
Exactly.
And, a couple of nights ago, I don't know. I guess maybe she thought I needed a stuffed animal. She brought me a stuffed animal.
Aww.
I know. I was asleep too. I woke up and I was like, "What you bring me this for?" She was like, "I don't know." But kids are precious. They are a joy.
They are definitely a joy.
I don't have no more questions. I was just running my mouth.
So, Monica, what did you enjoy most about Swami's adventure to the supermarket?
I was really, because like I said, this is my first time reading this book, and I was just like, she's gonna start screaming. Most kids or babies, when they're not with their parents, they'll start screaming, but she's waving and laughing and blowing kisses. So I just think the illustrations are absolutely beautiful. I'm just going to show a couple of pictures again to show all those different colors. What Swami looks like. I love how her hair is. I love the in-depth of all that. So that to me was absolutely beautiful too. I was excited to, every time I turned the page, oh my goodness, what bright colors would come up again, what we'll see. And I think this is a great kid story book, because not only are we talking about an adventure, but we're talking about what colors do we see, what's going on, where you're at. And then using that as a learning tool. When they go to the grocery store, what do you see? Making that an adventure for kids. Taking them to the cantaloupes as the cantaloupe fell to the ground and the lady almost fell over. Taking them to see, what the butcher man looks like and what his job is and the different jobs. For kids, it's exciting. For parents, that's more mature. But for kids, going to the grocery store and seeing those colors and pointing them out, and making kids a part of that process of grocery shopping, because sometimes I know with parents, when you have so much to do, it's a daunting task. Kids having a bad day, you're having a bad day. But how could you make it an adventure so that everybody is doing their part, everybody is happy? I know for me, growing up and going to the grocery store with my kids, somebody was in charge of the list. Somebody was in charge of getting this. Somebody was in charge of doing that. going to the grocery store with 3 kids, that's a lot. So everybody had to pay that part. So it was an adventure, but how are we going to make that an adventure? And I think this really just stood that out of, and then I was kind of shocked that nobody else noticed her. She was just freely going everywhere she wanted to go to. And everybody was so preoccupied with their shopping and you know what that looked like. So for this, the illustrations are amazing, the colors are amazing, and I think it's a great tool that parents could use. You know, purchase this book, let kids read this. What do you see that Swami sees? Point this out and do that and make that an adventure and a learning adventure for parents when they go to the grocery stores, because every day is an adventure. When you put them in that car and they're driving every day is an adventure. I know my son, when he was little, his dad is an avid motorcyclist, and my son could hear a motorcycle before it came and tell me what type of motorcycle was coming, literally. And he would just be sitting in the back seat and would be amazed by the sounds that he would hear. Oh, this is a big truck coming, or this is, you know, this that's coming, because we traveled a lot. I was always on the road. We did a lot of things, and he traveled with his dad a lot. He would be able to see that and hear that. So making that adventures as we're traveling as a family. Who wants to drive 10, 12 hours with kids in the car if it's not an adventure? So how we can do that. So every day, I think with kids, having kids, and for parents, and especially in bringing in their learning and their literacy and what that looks like, every day is a learning adventure for them. Every day could be something that we look at. I know we play games. I mean, me and I still play games sometimes when we're traveling. The what's the game called? The ABC game. So you have to go through the whole alphabet, and each sign you see, point out the letters A, B, like, I don't know. It makes the time go by, but then you're paying attention and you're looking at the words and what is this sign and what is that, and what that looks like. When I was a kid, me and my sisters would try to name the license plates before a car went by, just by the description of the person that was driving the car. Where would they be from? What was the conclusion? And then what was the license plate? So every day for kids, there's a way for them to continue to learn. And that's how, for me, I was able to geographically put a map together by license plates of what that looks like. So you can put it in different areas. So every day is a learning adventure. And I think the Adventures of Swami definitely show that and illustrated that, how kids at their little age, what they see and how big and adventurous it looks for them in order to do that. And I think it definitely plays a big part when parents could add that to their everyday life of what that looks like. And just, you know what, we're going on a new adventure, and have kids, you know, start writing their own books. What did you see on your adventure today? And having that child then come read that book to you, and getting them in the mood of, you know, reading and writing of their day and what that looks like as well.
I think those are wonderful suggestions. I'm glad that you said that. Also, with regards to the colors, all I kept thinking was, this will be an amazing coloring book.
Yes.
Reggie should definitely consider a coloring book.
Reggie. Yes.
Nudge, nudge. Hi. Tell me that friend Sharia, just little small suggestion when you're not busy. And the reason I say that is because so many people, when they saw the flyer, the very first thing they said is, oh my God, this is the cutest illustration on the cover.
Correct.
All these bright colors and all these things throughout the story, you know, I just think it would be a great coloring book. There are people in the comments saying that they need more adventures about Swami, they need more books. So Reggie, you've got a fan base. Just like and as a reminder, you can purchase this book on Amazon. Now, Monika says that Reggie is not really active on social media, so we don't have necessarily a way for you to follow Reggie, but definitely go to Amazon and check out what options there are written by Reggie Green. His name is in the flyers, is on the flyers and in the blurbs for this event. Now I'm going to switch the focus back to Monika, which I did not prepare her for, so she's probably making a face at me, but it's okay. So Monika, the Kia Foundation is doing amazing things. So I want you to talk about how they can bring you in virtually or in person to talk to groups about healthy relationships and self-care and healthy self-views or views of oneself.
Wow. Yes, you definitely put me on the spot for that. But thank you. Really thank you. Because bringing awareness and talking about everything is key. And that's the only way to get the information out there. And that's the only way to have people start these conversations. Having conversations about teen dating violence is key, is important. The only way that we can cut these numbers down to domestic violence and victims being part of domestic violence is we got to start all the way at the beginning. We have to be proactive instead of reactive. And we have to be able to start that at an early age, have those discussions with teens about relationships and get their view of what that looks like. I know one of the workshops I really do, we talk about social media and the social media handles and who your kids are following and why. What type of relationship values are they getting? Because they're getting that from influence of everywhere in their lives. So the mission of the Kia Foundation, as you read, Sharia, is to significantly reduce the rate of domestic violence, particularly in teens, through counseling, support, education, and advocacy. The only way that there's 1.5 million teens. This statistic was taken in 2018, that are physically nationwide that experience physical abuse from a dating partner in a single year. 1.5 million. That's a huge number. That number is, and that violent behavior began between the ages of 12 and 18. So between the ages of 12 and 18, if we're not talking about relationships, if we're not talking about intimate relationships, if we're not talking about violent behavior in that, from 18 to 24, then it increases. From 24 to 36, then it increases. So our responsibility is to, wait a minute, let's take that 1.5 million and cut that down. We have to do our part. And we have to start having conversations with teens early. There's teen dating violence, there's teen pregnancy, there's teen bullying, there's teen sexual assault. Those are conversations that we cannot be afraid of start having anymore. We have to be able to say that, no, this is not right. And the only way to do that is to gear teens up with information. Although that number of 1.5 million high school students, 84% of parents had no idea that teen dating violence was even an issue. That doesn't match. How do we have 1.5 million teens nationwide saying that I've been purposely hit, slapped, punched, or kicked by somebody I was in a relationship with, and then their parents not know? There's that disconnect and that conversation that's not being had. I know in my instance, I didn't have that conversation. I had to figure out relationships kind of like a on-the-job training. That's what do I see around me? Where am I getting that information or what that looks like? So the Kia Foundation, we're here to bring those workshops to that setting so that we can have that space to start having that conversation and bring that awareness to what does it really look like? How do I know if I'm in this situation? All right, we argue, but everybody argues in situations. How do I know what's that fine line between an unhealthy relationship and abuse? Because just because it's unhealthy doesn't mean it's abusive. And we need to know the difference. But if it's unhealthy, then I need to make decisions in order to leave before it becomes abusive. So those gray areas and what that looks like, especially for teens who are trying to navigate through that. Who sits a teen down and says, okay, this is what a healthy relationship is. You should be able to communicate. You should be able to talk. You should be able to feel this way. You should not change your identity of who you are to impress this person. We see teens do that so often, that I want to act this way or dress this way or behave this way because this is what he or she likes, or this will make them notice me, or this will make them look at me. So understanding what that self-care and knowing who I am, setting boundaries. People don't know that they can, in teens, if adults don't know, and adults have already a hard time with setting boundaries, and we're not preparing teens to do that. So setting boundaries in relationships and what that looks like. So the Kia Foundation, those are workshops that we offer to do that. We have workshops for parents and for advocates, because a lot of time, and an advocate can be anyone that is willing to stand up and use their voice to make a difference. I have a lot of teens that come to me when I'm giving presentations that says, one of them, I see this in my mom and her boyfriend's relationship. What can I do? Or my older brother is acting this way towards his girlfriend. Or my sister comes home and she's crying and this is what's going on. And these were 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They see this and they know what's going on, or in just teaching them, what that looks like. So the Kia Foundation addresses that in every area that we can, so that we can be preventive. We want to stop this number of fatalities within domestic violence that is happening. And it is happening on a rapid pace, especially within the last 2 years because of COVID, and because people were isolated, and because people had no outlet, and because people are frustrated. People can't work, people can't go nowhere, people can't do things. Those levels of abuse and elevation has escalated. So what are we putting in place for individuals now that we know that? We're helping them on the back end, but let's put something in place so that in the front end, we know how to deal with this. We know how to identify this, and we know what we can do. So the Kia Foundation has a brand new website actually that will be coming up by the end of this month. We're in the final stages. It's all set. I got to do a final approval, but you can still go on it and sign up so that we can send you alerts and emails and information about what we're doing. And that's the Kia Foundation, KEYA Foundation.com. We are on Facebook. Please like, share, comment, anything that we put up there, the Kia Foundation, KEYA. And the Kia Foundation, KEYA, stands for Keep Empowering Yourself Abundantly. And it's named after Kia Mitchell, who was a domestic violence victim who was murdered by her husband in August of 2012. And this is a way to make sure that Kia's voice will always be heard. You can always email the Kia Foundation at thekiafoundation@gmail.com, or you can give us a call at 336-582-0071. The vision of the foundation is to end domestic violence by putting into action programs and activities focus on adolescent children so they can grow into adults that have happy, healthy relationships. That is our vision. That is our goal. I did a survey to some of our high school classmates 20 years later. Back when we were in high school, there were 45% of teens that were involved in a teen dating violence relationship, and none of us knew that. Nobody knew who to talk to or where to go to get that information or provide that information or what that is. Now we have school resource officers, we have social workers in the schools, even your teachers. So any adult that you know that these teens can go to get that accurate information so that we can put awareness on this and then stop these numbers of domestic violence. So Sharia, thank you. Thank you very much, because that is definitely important to me, to the foundation, of really getting awareness. You can't change anything if you're not aware of what's going on.
That's right. And I couldn't skip this moment because we had the platform for awareness, so awareness we shall raise. All of the information that Monica just went over for the contact information for the Kia Foundation, Adrian has so amazingly put in the comments on Facebook so that you can find them. For those of you who are my Facebook friends, I have tagged Monica in the reading video, and I've also shared the Kia Foundation's Facebook page on my page. If you have trouble getting to it, you can just click on that post. So I want to thank Monica. Per usual, you're awesome. You know, I think you're amazing. We're not going to get all mushy because, but I do love sharing space with Monica. I feel like Monica does great work in a variety of forms, and advocacy is definitely her passion. And so I thank you for being here, not only to find interesting ways to expand literacy and adventures for children, but also to educate us about teen dating violence. I told y'all she wears many hats. Thank you, Monica. Thank you again, Reggie. The Little Free Library that your book donations were made to, they asked me to thank you as well. So hopefully Reggie will see this video. Next week, we will have Michelle Knight, who will be reading her new children's book, Church, Crackers, and Juice. So again, we'll be back on 6/12 at 11:30 a.m. Same time, same place on Zoom and Facebook Live with Michelle Knight. The flyer and the social media blurb for Ms. Knight will go up shortly. And again, Monica, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.